The story starts when the protagonist comes home excitedly to tell her mom that she finally got the scholarship, but her mom was scrolling through her phone and doesn't seem impressed at all. The mother thinks that her daughter's achievement isn't a big deal. She gets upset to make things worse. Her mother comments that she didn't buy the fruits from the store that her brothers liked. Then, her younger brothers arrive. The mom brightens up and asks them for a ride. When our protagonist asks where they're going, her mom says they're heading to grandma's and that she doesn't need to know more. She knows her mom isn't kind or loving. Feeling like an unwanted guest, she takes a hot bath to relax. She lies on the bed, feeling completely helpless. Just then, her phone buzzes as a notification about a new episode of her favorite novel arrives, which is the only bright spot in her day. This chapter tells the same story, with a king who loves his daughter and calls her his most precious girl. She thinks it's one of those feel-good stories where everyone loves the main character, including friends and family. Holding her phone, she wishes for a world where everyone would love her too. As she feels sleepy, her phone slips from her hand and falls into a bottomless abyss. She opens her eyes and realizes she has been reincarnated in another girl's body. As a fan of romance novels, she quickly figures out she has now been possessed. She sees a dragon's head on the walls, and then she understands she belongs to the Etam family, which is also called the Dragon family because of their close connection with dragons. Baited Etam made a pact with a black dragon. He drank the black dragon's blood to gain dream powers, which have been passed down through the family. The novel's main character, she is energetic and has a strong sense of justice that won't allow wrongdoing. Excited about living a perfect life to match her pink hair, she is shocked to see that her hair is not black like the heroine's, and that her name is different as well. She is Iron Atom, a side character and an illegitimate daughter rejected by her family for her wild behavior. She recalls living in her family's home until the age of 5, but an accident at a party raised doubts about her lineage and led to her being thrown out. Now that she realizes she is inside the story I Need to Be Adopted, she cannot believe her bad luck. Iron quickly finishes her hot chocolate, her maid Mela, and asks if she's alright since the drink might still be hot. Iron compliments Mela for making such a delicious drink. Mela blushes slightly and explains that she made black chocolate for Iron because there were not enough workers. Her caring maid has always treated her like family, and Iron trusts her the most because she feels like a sister. When Iron asks about tomorrow's events, Mela mentions the New Year's party. Iron frowns, remembering that it is the day she will be kicked out of the family. She puts the bowl aside and tells Mela she will be back soon, and takes the bowl to my room. She runs down and picks the best option from our nursery schools in case she's kicked out. She gets tired because she's in the body of a 5-year-old. As she approaches the door and she tries to remember the old orphanage run by a hero, but she cannot recall anything. While she is confused, she doesn't notice a man standing in front of her. Dee is surprised because he has beautiful hair that seems to hold all the darkness of the world, and his eyes shine. The girl thinks that God must have created him with care. The final candidate of the Etam family, named Erno Etam, stands there while reading a book from the shelf. Our girl is surprised to see Erno in the library, as she hasn't seen him for a year. When Erno asks her about the book on divine magic, she doesn't reply because she is captivated by his beauty. Erno decides to read his book again. Our girl finally tells him that the book is on the second column of the bookshelf. When Erno doesn't answer, she thinks he may not like short answers and pretends not to know him. She finds the book and starts reading. She discovers it is about a nursing school cared for by a brave war hero. Although Erno is also reading the book, the girl does not notice this. Erno thanks her for finding the book, and the girl becomes nervous as he appreciates her knowledge about the readers in the library. When he asks about her book, she worries she might be caught and kicked out tomorrow. To avoid this, she tells him her book is about practicing leadership and writing. Erno doesn't know much about what she said but responds that it sounds interesting, then walks away. Suddenly, the girl feels something strange. Her heartbeat quickens and she instantly transforms into a dragon. She understands now why people question her lineage and why she isn't an Etam. As she transforms, her clothes fall away. She worries about how to return to her human form. Irene quickly grabs her clothes and hides behind a shelf, panicking that she might never change back. She hides and spots a shiny expensive ring, and she wonders who lost it. Then she remembers seeing it on Erno Etam's hand, and realizes it belongs to him. Meanwhile, Erno returns to the library to get his ring, but he does not know that a dragon has taken it. When he walks in, he sees Irene on the floor appearing to be up to something. Feeling curious, he approaches and lifts her dress slightly. Irene quickly explains that she was only picking up his ring. Before he arrived, she had changed, and she hands him the ring as she says she found it under a shelf and cleaned it up. He thanks her with enthusiasm and gives her a quick pat on the head by making her blush and laugh. Knowing Erno isn't into being touched, she tosses the ring to him instead of handing it over. He catches it, still wowed by how it shines in the light. As she leaves, Erno looks back and thinks it was fun. New Year's Day arrives, and a party is planned at the Etam Mansion Grand Banquet Hall. When the protagonist walks in, she is amazed to see everyone looking shiny. She thinks about Irene, who turned into a dragon today, but now it's her story. Last night, she found out where the orphanage was and gathered some emergency funds by exploring the mansion. She hopes to use those coins if she becomes a dragon. Suddenly, the soldiers announce the arrival of the 12th dragon and Duke Morel Etam. He is the 12th head of the Etam family, and his 2 sons are with him. The Duke's first son is Erno Etam, and the second son is Celian Etam, who does not seem to enjoy the party. She remembers that these are the Etams who carry the dragon blood strongly. The way they walked in just set a serious mood at the party. She's shocked but then notices Erno waving at her, and it makes her super nervous. She catches people whispering that Erno waved at her, and it hits her that they're talking about her, so she waves back. But Erno looks a bit thrown off by her delayed response. Then a guy asks the Duke if he can call the first order, and the Duke gives him the go-ahead. The guy announces the first order and asks Wiln to step forward. Wiln comes up and clears his throat before greeting the Duke. She quickly remembers that it's a New Year tradition, where the Duke gets everyone to share their plans for the year. Wiln tells the Duke his big idea for this year's study, saying there's a plant from the eastern continent that can calm your mind and body with its unique scent. The Duke asks if Wiln knows anything about past research on it, and Wiln, looking nervous, says, "Yeah." The Duke then shouts that the plant isn't new, laughing and asking if any new ideas are blooming in Wiln's head. The Duke begins scolding Wiln and accusing him of wasting research funds at the bar, bothering a woman in a store, and using his family name to take on risky debts. Wiln tries to deny it, but the Duke doesn't let him get a word in, insisting he confess and claiming he's tarnishing the Duke's name. Frightened by the Duke's harsh words, Wiln stutters something and then drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness. The New Year get-together for the Etam family feels more like a cruel ritual, with the Duke airing everyone's dirty laundry from the past year. Irene is on edge, thinking there's only so much criticism one family can handle. She figures the Duke does care in his twisted way, but then he turns his attention to her. As the Duke goes through the family, Irene starts to sweat, dreading her moment in the spotlight. She tries to chill out, reminding herself that there are others to get roasted first. But then the Duke spots her and teasingly calls her Fluff. Erno jumps in, urging his dad to use her name instead. The Duke begrudgingly does, asking about her plans. Irene thinks about saying she wants to work at an orphanage, but then playfully wonders if it'd be more fun to turn into a dragon instead. The Duke brings up Irene's New Year plans again, and she mutters something about the house before boldly saying she just wants to get out without any interruptions. The Duke is taken aback by her strange idea, and everyone else is shocked. He asks her why she wants to leave, and Irene panics and blurts out that she knows the secret about her birth. Realizing she's said too much, she regrets it instantly. The Duke is curious and pushes her to explain further, but Irene feels the pressure mounting and knows she's in trouble. She recalls that she's always had a rough time with announcements. Just when she's about to speak, one of the Duke's soldiers interrupts, saying there's a serious situation. The Duke demands to know why the party was interrupted, and the soldier informs him that the floating stone mine has collapsed, trapping some workers and a manager. The Duke asks if anyone is hurt, and thankfully there are no deaths, but some workers are injured. The king is worried about his workers while the Duke is visibly stressed and decides to postpone the New Year's gathering for a few days to keep everyone close. He points out a few people and tells them to stay quiet, clean up, and follow him. Those he selects are visibly frightened and worried about what will happen next. When the Duke points at Irene, she begins to cry and asks for a handkerchief. Everyone watches her and feels sorry for her, but she believes they are angry with her. A soldier hands her a tissue, but the Duke takes it away and tells her she is not allowed to wipe her tears. He warns her to prepare for the next meeting because she will go first. Embarrassed, Irene nervously asks if she's going with the others. The Duke laughs at her and says she is too useless even for cow food, which makes her imagine herself as a cow. In a slip-up, she accidentally calls him Grandpa while asking where the others are headed. The Duke begins to explain but quickly seizes on her mistake, pushing her for an answer. Irene tries to brush it off but won't let it slide. She realizes she's in hot water again, and that she called the Duke Grandpa without even thinking about the trouble it would bring. Gathering her courage, she looks at the Duke with bright eyes and calls him Grandpa again. Everyone's watching, and the Duke is taken aback. The little girl nods and confirms that he's her grandpa, wondering if that's right. As the Duke was about to say something, the soldier called for him to follow. The Duke just tossed the handkerchief back at the girl, warning her that she was going to be investigated and should brace herself. He told her to meet him next time, and she felt a mix of nerves thinking about the possibility of another encounter and whether he might kill her. The Duke walked away with his men, leaving the gathering chaotic. The next day the sun was shining brightly, and Irene sat on a bench outside, feeling stressed because she had checked all the orphanages but could not find a safe one. Her thoughts kept returning to what had happened the day before. Suddenly a paper ball hit her, and she wondered where it had come from. Another ball flew past her and she quickly shouted to demand who was throwing things at her. A group of bullies appeared and began teasing her while calling her a crybaby. One guy from the group mocked her for sitting alone, saying she had no home or friends. He even made fun of her smarts, sarcastically explaining what a ball is and ribbing her for her lack of home training. They all laughed at her, jabbing about her not having second parents. Iron tried to keep her cool, but the more they went on, the angrier she got. Especially when they brought up her birth secret. Then, one of the guys noticed a big shadow looming behind him. He nervously asked what was happening, and then turned around to see Iron, furious and holding a huge rock ready to throw it at him. As the guy turns around, he sees Iron holding a rock. She scares them and throws the rock in front of them. The guy narrowly avoids being hit, which could have been serious. The boys are scared and threaten to tell their parents, saying the consequences will be severe. Iron angrily yelled at them that they can tell their moms, but having a personality like theirs makes it seem better if they do not have parents at all. The guy is furious and wants to fight her, but his friends hold him back and tell him to let it go. She picks up the rock again and shouts at them. The boys see this and run away to protect themselves. Once they leave, Iron drops the rock and sighs. Iron feels pitiful as she watches her brothers leave and thinks about her past. They often teased her for wearing cheap clothes at their good school. They said they were embarrassed to have her as their sister and told her to stay out of sight. Her mother also did not treat her well. She spoke to Grandma about how much their house had increased in value and was now worth twice as much. She boasted about sending her 2 sons to prestigious universities, but didn't mention Iron's name. When Grandma asked about her, their mother said that if nobody wanted Iron, she would send her to a dormitory. Iron feels left out in her family. Her father ignores her, and her brothers treat her like she doesn't matter. They always get the best parts of lunch, and it's blamed on her whenever something goes wrong. One day, she comes home late and sits on a swing in a park while thinking about her memories. While lost in thought, she hears a cat meowing. She is surprised to see the cat and thinks it is cute. She talks to the cat and pets it, hoping they can be friends. Iron remembers a recent incident and worries that a boy's mom might come to her asking for compensation. She wonders what she could give them. She wishes the cat could stay with her, but it disappears, making her feel lonely again. However, the cat soon returns with its whole family. Iran is surprised to see the cat's family and thinks everyone looks friendly. Yet she still feels lonely, because no one in her family is friendly to her. Then, a little kitten starts playing with her foot, and she realizes she is not alone anymore. She decides to go to Mela to eat pudding and wishes the cat good luck. Iron walks to her room while Erno watches her. He also saw and expected her to cry when the boys mocked her, but she surprised him by not throwing a rock at them. Erno has been curious about her since he first saw her in the library. She looked lost in the orphanage, and he was surprised that anyone from the Etam family would leave the Etam house. Erno planned to drop a ring in the library and waited outside for her to pick it up. He knew that if she didn't pick it up, that would be the end of it. He was surprised when the ring fell under the shelf and she threw it into his hand. He felt strong energy from the ring and chuckled, thinking it was odd that Iron wanted to leave the house even though she had special abilities. Erno is curious about her, so he wants to give her a gift. He believes parents who do not raise their children well must face consequences. A week later, during the New Year party, Iron stands in front of the Duke, who wants to know why she plans to leave. She mentions a secret about her birth, and the Duke asks her to explain. As she speaks, she wonders if there are more people than before, and feels they are all waiting for the next event. Iron feels prepared to leave and knows she has the funds. When the Duke asks her about the truth again, a man claims that Iron is his daughter. Iron is shocked to realize the man is Erno Etam, the Duke's son, saying this in front of everyone. Her words surprise her and wonder if she will see the sunrise tomorrow. Erno Etam is a hedonist who enjoys whatever he wants. If he isn't interested, he won't act and will do whatever he likes. He breaks it for whatever he wants when he gets bored with something. Our girl knows she should avoid him if she wants an easy life, but she is nervous. When Erno smiles at her, she realizes he is focused on her and asks what he says. The Duke tells Erno to stop making bad jokes and says someone of his rank shouldn't get involved. Erno laughs and says he isn't looking for a seat, he is looking out for her daughter. She insists that she is not Erno's daughter and wants to share a secret and leave. She wonders why Erno is stalling. The situation is tense as the Duke is furious like a dragon while Erno is strong like a tiger and Iron is stuck between them. She doesn't want to be involved, but Erno tells his father that he can ask his daughter if he doesn't believe him. This makes her tremble. Erno asks her to tell the truth, but she knows he is shameless and lies to his father. She feels nervous, and as Erno looks at her intently, she grows more anxious about saying she is his daughter and pats her head. The Duke is angry. He tells Erno that he couldn't behave well at every New Year's party, and now he's bringing in someone else's child, especially a fluffy thing like this. Iron hears people whispering around her. She learns this isn't new for her. Last time, Erno brought in a boy but kicked him out after 4 months. They expect her to stay for a maximum of 6 months. Iron overhears a woman expressing sympathy for the child. However, the woman says her husband told her that he gives them enough money to buy a small island whenever Erno ends someone's stay. People start to gossip about what she will do with her large amount of money. She makes a scene about being with the Etams. She finds it oddly pleasant to think that if she stays here for 6 months, she can spend her final years on an island she owns. She imagines a bright future there and calls this a part-time job with great rewards. She looks at Erno with mixed feelings. Erno tells the Duke that he cannot change his successor, even if it seems unfair. He then smiles at her and shares his New Year's plans with the Duke. Erno mentions that he wants to be a good father to his daughter, who he recently reunited with. The Duke yells at Erno, questioning how a man can be a good father if he isn't a good son. Erno interrupts and tells the Duke to be quiet, because his daughter is scared. She knows Erno is using the Duke to protect himself. She speaks up, saying that she isn't afraid of her grandpa. Erno reassures her that her father will protect her. She then tells them she isn't scared and thinks grandpa is great. She looks at her grandpa sweetly and asks him not to be angry. The Duke agrees, but quickly claims he hasn't been angry and never will be. His 2 other sons know he is still upset. Enough is enough for the Duke. He stands up and announces that the New Year's party is over. Everyone must send their plans to his room separately. Erno picks her up in his arms and suggests they leave too. After the New Year's party, it feels like she has become a fake daughter to Erno. As he carries her, she realizes he dislikes closeness, yet he is holding her here. The protagonist thinks about this as soon as they exit the banquet hall. She believes Erno will eventually drop her once he tires of her. However, he is careful not to trip or let her fall. She feels adored by how Erno looks at her, and she smiles. Yet, she knows to him that she is just a new toy. She needs to wait until he loses interest. She tells herself not to hope too much and not to expect anything. Like before, she wants to avoid getting hurt and recalls how it was in the protagonist's original life. She decides to keep her expectations low. While Erno carries her, he smiles at her. Several days have passed since the second New Year's party. Our girl wakes up in a large, beautifully decorated room. Her father Erno is there and greets her with good morning. She feels sleepy, but thinks Erno still looks handsome. A week has gone by since the New Year's gathering. Erno brought her to his big mansion and gave her a spacious room that seemed prepared for her. Every day, Erno comes to her room to make breakfast. As she is awake, he tells her it's time to eat. He prepared soup and bread, but she thinks that's too much for her. She feels happy when Erno feeds her, and it makes her emotional. Although she wishes to be served differently, she finds the rice delicious. Erno asks if she wants anything today, and then he playfully pinches her cheeks, which he does every day. She feels unsure about telling him she likes gifts. She thinks about wanting money but worries it might sound snobby. Erno says he will bring Mela soon, so she wonders if she should tell them what she needs. She then tells Erno she would like to have a bank account. Erno asks if that is what she means, and Iron confirms it. In the novel I Need to Be Adopted, the bank account differs from the real world's. The Magic Tower runs the bank, and they do not provide a passbook. The account is protected with 3 layers of magic and barriers. The owner receives the safest safe in the world, which only they can open. He is very kind and willing to give anything. However, Irene, who is 23 years old, only sees fake love and care. She doesn't expect anything from Erno. He asks her if she wants money, and she replies that she wants to save money. She feels like she is acting the part of a caring daughter to him. She knows she is just a supporting character and has no right to ask for anything, fearing the day she will be told to leave. Our girl wants a bank account so that she will have cash to rely on when she is kicked out. She doesn't want to be seen as someone to take money from. Even though she doesn't expect anything, she still makes a request, as Erno thinks about it. He smiles wickedly, realizing she is trying to escape. He tells her that opening an account is easy, but she is shocked. He encourages her to go right away. They head to the market, and she is amazed to see it all, as it is her first time out. She is captivated by the famous Roppan shop furniture, finding it even more beautiful than she imagined. Erno is happy she likes it. He asks if she wants to play with toys since a shop is nearby. Iron tells him she hasn't played with toys in a long time, and that having a good bank account is enough for her. She knows that parents who don't care for their kids don't buy them toys, and since she didn't have toys in her previous life, she wonders if they would be fun. Erno picks her up and takes her to a toy store. The shop owner gets angry because the store isn't open yet. Erno asks if he owns the shop, and the owner says yes. Erno then tosses a bag of gold coins to him, stating it contains 50 gold coins, and he wants all the toys in the shop. The shopkeeper is shocked by the amount, but feels frustrated because there are too many toys, and she doesn't need them. Erno tells her that they can throw away the toys if she doesn't like them, or she can pick her favorites. As Erno talks to the shopkeeper about buying the store, she shouts that she wants to choose herself. Some toys are strange and unique in this magical world, but she thinks they aren't worth 50 gold coins. She would prefer to have the coins instead of the toys. Erno often teases her, who insists she will choose and stay calm. While exploring, Iron finds all the toys ugly until she spots a tiger doll and chooses it. She shows the doll to Erno, who asks why she picked it. She replies that it looks like her father, which makes everyone at the shop happy, who thinks it's cute. Erno knows he can't say no if his daughter wants the doll. She realizes her choice will impress him. He asks the shopkeeper how many of the dolls are left. The shopkeeper shows him the stock, and Erno asks if anyone has bought this doll before. The shopkeeper says he is the first customer. Erno then snaps his fingers and orders the shopkeeper to remove the other similar dolls. The shopkeeper worries his business is in danger and asks for water. Erno throws some coins at him and tells him not to panic. He assures everyone that the fire will only burn the dolls and go out quickly. Erno hopes the store won't sell any more tiger dolls. The shopkeepers turn to Erno and thank him, even as their shop is in chaos. Erno tells them that only his daughter will have the doll now, and no one else will get one. He asks her if she is happy, and since she can't say otherwise, she replies, yes. The story continues with Erno feeding her some pudding and asking if she likes it. Duke Morel interrupts and wonders why she is eating during the meeting. The Etam family holds regular meetings to discuss their sizable military project. Direct descendants of the family must attend these important meetings, where Duke Morel is strict. Everyone must be careful not to offend the Duke during discussions. When the Duke sees Erno feeding her in such a setting, he questions Erno's actions. Erno explains that it is his daughter's snack time, but he is still part of the meeting. The Duke becomes angry at this. She fears that she will suffer from the Duke's anger before Erno leaves her. In a sweet voice, she tells Erno and Duke Morel that she will stop eating the pudding. She promises to be a good girl and asks them to stop scolding her. Her words touch the Duke, and he agrees she is good at expressing herself. Duke Morel reassures Irene that it's not her fault and encourages her to enjoy the pudding. Meanwhile, Erno feeds her again, causing Duke Morel to feel annoyed at Erno for questioning his permission. Irene can't hide her delight at the delicious pudding, which makes her look cute in the eyes of everyone at the meeting, even his stern grandpa. Duke Morel shifts the conversation to business. He asks about the weapons being sent to the neighboring country. His team reports that everything is fine, but insufficient materials remain. He inquires about the floating stone and learns that digging deeper produces poorer quality and limited amounts. Erno pulls her close and gives everyone a fierce smile to make them focus on their matters. As the discussion continues, she realizes they are talking about the floating stone, a key element in this story. A stone floats in the sky and serves as a resource. The heroine of the story discovers the entrance to the floating stone mine. The novel has an incident about this, but she wonders why she is involved. That location was in the mountains behind the dukedom. Irene knows the heroine will find it because she has everything in this novel. But things have changed now that she is here and understands this world. She wants to avoid Erno's urges and sympathize with the heroine, who will arrive later. Even though she knows everything, she still asks Erno about the floating stone. He tells her it is just a useless flying stone in the sky, and shows her an illusion of the stone using his magic. He explains that a small amount mixed with iron creates a suitable alloy for making weapons. Irene internally mocks at the idea of it being useless. However, she realizes this stone will soon change the war and cause a revolution. Erno asks her why she inquired about it, and she claims to have seen a stone flying in the sky. Everyone is shocked, and Duke Morel slams his fist on the table so hard that it breaks in half. Duke Morel becomes very serious and asks her to confirm what she just said. She is scared and wonders whether this results from the dragon's bloodline strength, as he just broke a thick table with one punch. Other people joined in to ask questions about the floating stone, where it was located, and whether she had seen the natural stone. Erno shouts for everyone to stand back 10 steps from her, warning them to keep that distance when talking to his daughter. Everyone apologizes, but Duke Morel steps forward anyway. He asks where the location is, and she tells him it's the mountain in the back. She points to the hill from the window, and Duke can't believe a stone could be behind his house. The people wonder if she is right about the rock in the back mountain. They agreed to check since they had never thought of investigating that area. Erno pats her and asks how she knows so much. Someone approaches the Duke and whispers something to him. He comments on a child being in the wrong place and announces that the meeting is over. Everyone is surprised by this turn of events. However, Iron senses issues with the heroine coming and worries it might happen too fast. Iron is biting her nails, worried about whether the main heroine from the novel will overshadow her. It's getting late, and Erno tells her he'll introduce someone new tomorrow, making her curious and nervous. He tucks her in and asks if she likes the pudding, and she says it's good. However, she's preoccupied with the idea that her time as his daughter will soon end when the heroine arrives. As she says goodnight, she can't shake off the worry about being forgotten. She asks her father if the mansion is hers, and he confirms it. He adds that even the butler, the maid, and 30 servants will obey her. Iron calls him the best father. He prepares to give her 100 million gold as he promised everyone. Just as she reaches for it, he pulls his hand back. He shouts at her to leave and calls her a fool. She is confused and doesn't understand why. He screams in pain, wishing he had known sooner that she was a nasty dragon. She turned into a dragon and was kicked out. She couldn't believe it ended this way. She shouted, "No!" Then she woke up and realized it was just a terrible dream. Everything was fine. Her heart raced, and she was sweating. The next day, Mela came over. When she saw Iran in a beautiful dress, she praised her for looking good in anything she wore. Mela excitedly said that all the clothes were made for Iron and that she was incredible. Iron felt that Mela was more energetic after arriving at the mansion. Iron then told Mela she had to go and pick up a doll that looked like her father. She felt that Mela was more energetic after arriving at the mansion. She then told Mela she had to go and pick up a doll that looked like her father. She went outside, thinking her father was in his room. But she saw not he but his 2 sons. They were talking and said Irene was the girl they were discussing. They realized she was younger than they thought. The brothers told her their father wanted them to bring her to the table. Callian returns to her and reaches out to her. But she shrinks back, fearing he might hurt her. Callian gently places his hand on her head and asks why she is following them if she doesn't want to come along. He picks up the doll and tells Cillian to put Iron on his shoulders. Callian says Iron claims she is heavy, but Cillian is strong. Cillian puts her on his shoulders and walks forward with Callian. Callian advises her not to get too attached to her father because he often plays pranks. She should not let his words hurt her. She realizes that Callian is a good person. Callian mentions that his father doesn't think highly of him, but that doesn't bother him. Sicilian picks Iron up and holds her in front of the door. Iron smiles and tells him she is okay. She also hints that she has a secret, which both brothers are curious about. When our girl opens the large door, she sees Erno dressed like a true royal gentleman. He asks her if she slept well, and she excitedly runs to him, telling him she missed him. Erno thanks his sons for bringing her home safely. He notices something is off by the looks on his sons' faces, and they reassure him that everything is fine. Callian tells his father they might be leaving the mansion because they could have found Erno's sister's daughter. Callian asks if Erno is talking about the old aunt who ran away. Erno confirms this and playfully pinches Iron's cheeks. He asks her about the doll, and she describes it as perfect, soft, and warm, saying she sleeps with it and thanks Erno for the gift. Suddenly, Erno feels a red spark in his ring, and a red light flashes. He rings and leaves her, causing her doll to fall. Erno urgently calls Callian twice, asking him to take her and run. Sicilian asks their father if he is okay, but Erno insists they must leave now. She watches her father on the ground, confused about what is happening. Erno starts to lose control, breaking the table. Callian tells her they need to leave immediately. She remembers that the Etam family sometimes experiences a need to harm others when their magic fades. People call this berserk, and she sees her father holding his head in distress. As dark magic fumes surround Erno and his anger grows, she remembers reading about berserk in a novel and is shocked she didn't recognize it. Erno Etam's berserk can appear even with a magic suppression accessory. According to the original story, Erno once had a meal with his family in a greenhouse when he suddenly went to berserk and killed many servants. When Duke Morel found out, he put Erno on probation for a while. He became a true monster in the Etom family. Today, history might repeat itself. Callian tells Cillian to spread the news about evacuating while he stays with her. Cillian asks them to be careful. She feels her father's pain and knows she can't leave him alone. She focuses on his mind and believes there must be a cure. She remembers a scene in the original novel where Callian and Cillian talk about a warm, shady tree in their father's greenhouse. Callian tells Cillian that the fruit has finally grown. They have found the cure for berserk. After this memory, she decides to leave Callian alone. He worries that she shouldn't go out alone because it's unsafe, but she insists she will return quickly. She knows that if Erno gets probation, she will lose her money, her island, and her mansion, leaving her homeless. While searching for the tree, she remembered the words from the book about a warm spot hidden under a big blanket of shade where a tree with red berries grew. Callian and Cillian remember being surprised to find a tree in their father's greenhouse. The tree produces fruit all year, and they think their mother might know something about it, or that it could be a gift from her. Iron knows that they are used to make a cure for berserk. After thinking for a moment, Iron takes out her bag of gold coins and throws all the coins on the ground. She tries to pick the first red berry but gets poked by a thorn, which hurts a little. Eventually, she fills her bag with red berries. Suddenly she hears a scream coming from the dining hall. A boy is screaming for help as Erno has grabbed him by the neck and is choking him hard. Just then, Iron enters the room and shouts for her father. Erno throws the boy onto the floor and walks toward Iron with a scary smile. She feels scared but takes a deep breath and realizes that Erno is hurting the most. Like in her previous life, Iron knows what it feels like to be ignored during tough times. When Erno gets closer, she tried to call him back but he couldn't hear her. Callian hears the fuss and opens the door to find Iron. He sees Erno grabbing her neck and shouting at her. Iron is smart and knows how to react. She bites Erno's hand, and he releases her neck. Quickly, she takes some berries from her bag and forcefully puts them into Erno's mouth as she falls. Erno then falls to the side and swallows the berries. She closes his mouth to help him chew and swallow the berries. Soon, the dark magic fumes disappear, and Erno becomes unconscious for a minute. She quickly picks up more berries from the floor and wants to give them to Erno. Just as she is about to make him eat more berries, Erno grabs her hand and calls her name as he wakes up. He is looking at her with love and emotion. She asks her father not to be angry because she is scared. Erno reassures her that Dad is not angry and asks why he would be furious with her. He pulls her close and tells her to calm down, saying everything is fine now. While crying, she notices her father's doll, which looks torn and in bad shape. She wonders if it's broken, but needs to check it immediately. Dahlia lies in bed talking to Erno about how kids love their parents without seeing their faults. She explains that parents can make mistakes, but kids only see the good in them. Erno calls her an idealist, and this frustrates her. She wishes they had a daughter because men are softer with daughters. Erno reminds her that they already have 3 kids, but Dahlia insists that a daughter would show him that some love cannot be avoided. Dahlia looks at her pregnant belly and hopes Ian will change his life. She wants him to feel less lonely. From her bed, she gazes at Erno with longing. She can express these feelings because she never had a chance to give birth to her 3rd child. She passed away before that could happen. Callian runs to his father. Erno holds Iron on his lap and checks her breathing. He says that Iron is not seriously hurt but looks worried. Suddenly a scream is heard. The door opens and Mela rushes in, panicked. Erno remembers that chaos often happens in moments like these. People run away in fear. Once someone goes berserk, only a stronger force can stop them. A dragon chess piece crushes a tiger doll, showing how strength can defeat even the wildest opponent. But little Iron stopped his berserk state by feeding him red berries. Erno carried Iron out of the room and noticed her torn tiger doll with wool coming out of it. He used his mana to bring the doll to him. He remembered how much Iron loved it. It was her favorite toy. Feeling sad, he regretted breaking it. Cillian watched from the doorway. He gathered his courage and stepped inside. He asked his father about Iron. Callian assured him that she was okay and said it was all over. He told Cillian to relax. He told Cillian to find red berries and bring them to the lab. He tossed Cillian the berry satchel and said it was the key to fixing the berserk. Cillian tried to protest, but Callian insisted he do it and walked away. Cillian feels relieved that no one died. Erno carries Iron through the glowing hallway. Callian nervously follows and asks if the fruit stopped the berserk. Erno replies that it seems so. Callian looks at Iron and wonders how she knew about it. Erno explains that she has many secrets. Callian stops and asks Erno to stop joking. He feels bad for Iron and says she helped them and saved his father. Erno says it is none of his business. When Callian protests, Erno warns him not to make him repeat himself. The air around them darkens, scaring Callian, who then excuses himself. Erno thanked Callian for his work and told him to leave as he walked up the stairs into her room, making Callian feel a bit stressed. Upstairs in the bedroom, maids were taking care of Iron, who lay unconscious on the bed. They wiped her with wet cloths. Erno stood nearby with his arms crossed. He thought about his wife, Dahlia, who appeared softly through the light curtains and called him airy with a knowing look. He denied it and said he was joking, but she didn't believe him. Soon, Iron woke up. She felt confused and didn't know where she was. Iron suddenly remembered gold and sat up, screaming. Mela heard her and ran in, looking worried. When she saw Iron awake, Mela became emotional and wiped her tears. She told Iron that she had been unconscious for a week, which had made her very worried. Iron was shocked to learn she had been sleeping for a week. Mela said she was so worried that her heart felt weaker each day. Iron started to feel tense. If a week had passed, she must have arrived by now. Mela noticed Iron's anxiety and worried that she was uncomfortable. Iron thought about the possibility that she must have come. Mela, confused, asked what she meant. Outside the mansions, some maids are cleaning and relaxing when they hear a little girl with black hair asking a question. The girl asks about the Duke's office. One Duke tells her to go to the second floor at the end of the hallway. The little girl thanks the maids and walks in happily. One maid comments that she is the cutest girl she has ever seen. She might be the daughter of an aristocrat or a princess who is always looked after, but the other maids do not believe her. The little girl is the main character of the original story, Charney. Charney Etam is the upbeat main character in I Thought I Was Adopted, but I was mistaken. When she gets worked up, she can disappear and gradually soften her cold father, Erno Etam's heart. As time passes, she becomes a beloved family member, bonding with her loved ones over meals and gifts. Her charm made her the highlight of I Need to Be Adopted, a story the main character loved. Hoping to be like Charney and earn her family's love, she dreams of a similar life but soon realizes her reality is different. Feeling sad, she sets the tablet aside and rests her head on her desk. In the novel, Mela serves Iron soup while discussing how worried everyone is. Masters Callian and Cillian visit daily. Even the Duke checks in on her. When Iron asks about her dad, Erno, Mela hesitates a bit before saying he came by once but might be busy. She also brings up how the Duke mentioned adopting a princess's daughter. Iron takes it all pretty well, and Mela tells her how calm and lucky she is to have gotten a promotion, a raise, and the chance to look after someone as sweet as her. Iron smiles, which makes Mela call her a real blessing. Mela tells Iron to listen carefully, and the mood changes. Iron feels confused, but Mela quickly changes the topic and shows her a pink dress. She tells Iron to get ready to meet the Duke. They wait outside the Duke's room, and the guard lets them in. Mela thanks the guard, and Iron wonders if she will be okay. Iron tells herself not to expect anything to avoid disappointment. Iron sees the Duke, her father, and Charney Etam in the room. Charney hides behind the Duke. Iron greets her grandfather and father happily, then looks at Charney and immediately recognizes her. The Duke warmly welcomes Iron and calls her Fluffy. Her father only glances at her before looking away. Iron pretends not to care, though she feels a bit surprised. The Duke mentions a floating stone Iron told him about that helped his business. He also says that Erno said Iron helped while he was away. Iron explains that her father was sick, so she helped him. The Duke nods and says good work should get a reward. He offers to grant her a wish. He says it could be business rights, or even the name of a direct descendant. Iron is excited, but decides she doesn't want fancy titles or business rights. She asks for money instead, specifically 1 million roasts, to be transferred to her bank account. It's a nice surprise to discover that this currency is worth about the same as Korean money. The Duke looks shocked and repeats her request, but she just nods confidently, thinking that 1 million should be plenty. The Duke sighs, and Iron starts to feel confused, wondering if 1 million is a lot for someone as wealthy as him. Then he pulls out this fancy platinum bracelet and tells her that the info she gave is worth way more than that. He transfers 100 million as a deposit, so that's a total of 110 million. Iron is over the moon and thanks God for the money she never expected to get. While she celebrates, Erno lifts her. She thanks her grandfather, but he scolds her for carelessly picking up things and eating them. Erno takes 100 million from her bracelet, confusing her, and says it is a bad habit. She feels shocked and thinks he is crazy, but then he taps the bracelet again and adds 1 billion. She feels stunned as he suddenly seems like a god of wealth. The Duke interrupts and tells Erno to start the adoption process for Charny. Erno refuses and reminds the Duke that he already has a daughter. The Duke insists, saying Charny's ability to calm down and go berserk could protect his family. Iron realizes the story's ending was always decided from the start. Erno puts her down and tells her to go to her room and wait for dinner. She agrees and leaves, telling herself everything is fine because she has made money. She thinks everything is perfect, even though she feels a little sad. She calls for Mela and says she is tired and will nap. Mela offers to help, but Iron says she can do it herself, and happily runs off, ignoring Mela's protests. As Iron walks away, Mela watches her and thinks Iron always chooses beautiful things. While looking out the window, Mela wonders if it's time to fulfill her mission. At 5 p.m., Iron quietly moves around the mansion as the sun sets, looking for anyone nearby. She feels sad about what she is doing. She thinks of herself as Iron, a dragon beast ready to escape. She packed stolen gems and money from the annex the day before under her bed. Now, she is trying to sneak into a place, which is something she has never done before. Iron feels lucky that her innocent look managed to trick the soldiers she walked past. As she's thinking about tracking down the last gem, she spots Mela slipping away quietly. Curious about what the maid is up to, Iron decides not to get sidetracked. She reminds herself to hurry up since this could be her last dinner with Erno. The next morning, Mela wakes her up, and Iron is confused about finding herself in bed. She had planned to have dinner with her dad but somehow fell asleep. Mela says Erno was busy and couldn't leave his room. Iron is puzzled, wondering if she went anywhere the night before. She recalls going to the annex and waiting for Erno until 9 o'clock before napping off. Iron feels forgotten now that the heroine is here. Mela tells her it might be because her father got a probationary order. Iron doesn't fully understand, but thinks Erno doesn't like her anymore. This thought shocks her, and she slams her fists on the bed, telling herself not to expect anything. She asks Mela if she can see her father, and the maid says she will probably be allowed to visit him. Iron decides to visit her father and runs down the halls while saying goodbye to Mela. Mela stops where the servants are allowed. Iron opens the door and greets her father, but she freezes when she sees Erno Itam holding hands with Charny. Feeling out of place, she apologizes and tries to leave because she thinks he is busy. Erno stops her and says he is not busy, and then invites her inside. She runs to him and climbs into his lap. Iron looks up at him and asks if the Duke gave him a hard time last night. Instead of answering, Erno asks if she's ever seen a sword that breathes fire. Curious, she questions why he's bringing that up, but he just tells her she'll see it soon. Suddenly, the door flies open, and the Duke barges in with a flaming sword, yelling at Erno for taking a mine and registering it under his name. Iron is blown away. This is her first time witnessing the dragon's relic and the dragon fire up close. Erno stays cool and reminds the Duke that he was promised a mine a while back. The Duke, fuming, denies it, but then remembers mentioning something like that a couple of years ago. Looking frustrated, he accuses Erno of twisting his words. He demands the mine back, but Erno smiles and says, "No way." The Duke protests, but Erno snaps his fingers and suddenly sends him out to the lawn. There, the Duke finds himself surrounded by playful puppies, and one of them jumps at him, licking his face and leaving him speechless. The Duke yells in anger after being teleported outside. Inside the room, Erno praises Erin and tells her she did well. He brings a doll, saying he meant to give it to her at dinner last night. He apologizes and says it is his daughter's most precious treasure. Iron recognizes the doll, feels happy to see it again, and thinks it looks softer now. She smiles and thanks her father, promising to take good care of it. Charny is watching and asks if she can touch the doll because it looks very cute. Iron happily agrees, but Charny surprises her by rubbing her cheeks instead. Charny says her cheeks feel soft and fluffy, like milk and bread. Iron, confused, calls her sister Charny and asks her to wait. When she hears the word sister, Charny steps back, and Iron wonders if she is not considered a sister. Iron quickly apologizes and explains that she thought Charny was her sister. Charny feels happy instead of upset and hugs Iron tightly, calling her cute. Iron struggles to breathe because of the tight hug. Charny says that since she is 8 and Iron is 5, she should call her sister and think of her as cute. Erno watches the scene quietly. Iron walks through the halls, thinking about whether she should pack up and leave tonight. The new girl has shown up at the mansion, and Iron can't shake the feeling that she doesn't belong anymore. Charny is set to take her place, and it stings. She remembers how her dad was back then, almost like he thought this was how it was all supposed to go down. Watching the heroine play the harmonica, Iron can't help but notice how much she sparkles in a way Iron can't match. While sipping tea with Charny, she discovers that Charny is hanging out with their grandpa that afternoon and has no other plans. That hits Iron. The berserk situation is about to kick in again, just like in the original story when the heroine's purification powers were needed. When Charny offers Iron a spoonful of pudding, Iron feels ashamed but eventually gives in and takes a bite. Charny calls her adorable and hugs her tight, saying she is lucky to have such a cute little sister. Iron hugs her back and mentions that she'll get used to life here with all the toys and treats their dad gets them. Charny finally expresses how much she hates being Erno's daughter. She confesses she only showed up at the mansion because she needed someone to look after her. She wouldn't have come at all if it were up to her. Iron listens but feels lost on how to respond to the sadness in her voice. Iron feels confused as she wonders if Charny has always been this way. In the original book, Charny wasn't her favorite character at all, but she wasn't this grumpy. Maybe it's just because the story is still getting going. Later on, Erno, Etam, and Charny are supposed to get closer, especially after that whole dragon artifact theft thing. The Etam family has 3 dragon artifacts, and each one picks its owner. The Flame of Blaze is a sword that belongs to Morel. Erno wears the Fragment of Balance, a sapphire earring. The Dragon Orb is the one that's about to get stolen. Iron remembers that the heroine cracked the case and helped Charny and Erno get closer, but she can't quite recall who the thief was. She thinks about stopping the theft, but wonders if it's the right move since it could mess with the novel's story. Charny notices that Iron seems distracted and asks if something's bothering her. Iron brushes it off. While saying it's nothing, Charny insists they can tackle any issue together. Iron smiles and fibs, saying she's just trying to figure out what to have for dinner. Charny takes her hand and tells her to focus on happiness and not stress over anything. Iron remembers how she used to look up to the heroine while lying in bed with the novel, loving all the praise the character received. She liked Charny, who was just so sweet and nice to everyone. In the story, Iron tells Charny she's like her older sister and vows to make her happier. Now, Iron's thinking about taking things further than the original book by making the connection between Charny and Erno Etam even stronger. Charny thanks her for the nice words, and Iron tells her to ask for help whenever needed. That night, Iron puts her packed bags back in the closet, deciding to stick around. While Mela helps her dress, the maid asks if Iron has thought about a gift. A bit confused, Iron discovers it's Prince Erno Etam's birthday. She's shocked because she had no idea. Mela reminds her that as the prince's only daughter, she should be the one to give him the first gift. She suggests the perfect present, the sapphire earrings that Prince Erno Etam always wears. Iron remembers her thoughts from the day before about the fragments. Mela explains that gathering all the fragments will help keep the young duke from getting scared. Iron suddenly recalls that the person who stole the earrings wasn't a major player in the story, just some extra who was in a tight spot and needed cash. Mela hints that if Iron gives the earrings to Erno, he might choose her over Charny. When Iron asks if she can stick around with Mela, the maid says yes, but mentions needing a favor. Just as Mela starts to repeat her request, Iron has a light bulb moment and remembers who the real thief is. Mela asks Iron how she's doing, and if she'll hear her out for a favor. As she talks, things get a bit tense, and Iron suddenly realizes that Mela is behind everything. The maid tries to sweeten the deal, hoping Iron will just go along like usual. Iron catches Mela off guard by hitting her hands down and saying no. She's dead set against it, insisting she would never do something like that. Mela is taken aback, wondering why Iron would refuse after everything. Iron then goes over to her bed, climbs on top, and burrows under her blanket. She says stealing is wrong and plans to pretend she never heard about it. Mela stays cool, but drops a polite warning. She lets Iron know that she's on top of her secret, pointing out that she's noticed that Iron is a beast woman. She brings up that wild transformation at the New Year's party after sipping cocoa. Her tone is icy and creepy, leaving Iron at a loss for words. Iron can't believe what she just heard. She thought the cocoa would help her, but she's been played. It doesn't even matter now, it's too late for that. She shuts her eyes and melodies out Mela, who storms out with a warning that Iron will wish she had made a different choice. Curled in bed, Iron thinks about how everything still seems to be going by the book. The heroine's going to crack the case, and Erno is going to get closer to Charney. Even so, Iron takes some comfort in her new connection with her sister. That night, with the full moon hanging overhead, the Etam clan's power took a hit as the madness from their bloodline dozed off. Security was tightened all around the mansion, leaving Mela with no way to make a move. By morning, word got out about Iron's beastly side. People were stunned to hear she might be a dragon and couldn't stop gossiping about how she disrespected the Etam family. Some even whispered about how Mela had cared for her like a nanny all these years. Iron, with her pink hair, gets approached by Yahello, the serious head butler of the Etam clan. His serious vibe makes her anxious, but she accompanies him anyway. She braces herself, worried that her secret of being a beast girl might come to light. Yahello takes her to this fancy hall packed with people where the Duke is waiting. He immediately demands that she tell the truth in response to his questions. The first one hits her hard. Did she team up with some guy in black to steal Erno Etam's earrings? Iron is shocked and glances at her maid, Mela, who's crying like crazy. She can't help but think that Mela might be blaming her for this mess, but she wonders why since she's always treated her kindly. The interrogation is ongoing, and the Duke pushes her hard to confirm if she is a beast girl. He demands a straight yes or no, and you can see his anger building up. Iron finally admits she's a beast girl, but just as she's about to explain more, her vision starts to go blurry, and she feels super dizzy. To her shock, she spots Mela grinning slyly and realizes she's been drugged. Suddenly, her body changes, and as her dress falls away, a tiny pink dragon pops out from the clothes. The crowd goes wild, shouting things like lizard and snake. As she tries to get away, someone stomps on her tail, and it breaks. In pain, she scrambles up a pillar, tears streaming down her face as the insults keep coming. Just then, Erno Etam walks into the hall and calmly asks her to come down. Iron hesitates, thinking about how her dad hates reptiles and worrying that their bond is ruined. She spots a doll from her dad on the floor and gets distracted, which makes her lose her grip and fall. Scared and wishing she could be anywhere but here, she opens her eyes to find herself lying on the ground in a forest. A guy with violet hair spots her and sees her broken tail. He tells her he gets her pain and that they have a lot in common. Then he decides he wants to keep her as his pet. Light fills the hall, blinding everyone for a moment before it fades. They are left stunned by the lizard girl's sudden disappearance. Mela realizes Iron is gone and celebrates her success, thinking about returning to the guild. A dark figure appears behind her before she can finish her thoughts, and her screams fill the hall. The viewers watch in horror as Mela lies on the ground, bleeding from her arm, and staring up at Erno's bloodied blade. Erno is furious over his daughter's suffering and says that his daughter yelled. Mela protests and is confused by his claim. Still, Erno firmly says that Iron is his daughter and needs no other explanation. He then proves his point by angrily slashing his sword at the maid, making her meet her early demise. Her blood splashed around the hall, and Erno's blue aura emitted from the brutal scene. His eyes lie next to the attacker, who squashes her daughter's tail, and he marches over to him, ordering him to use that dirty mouth again, the same one he used to criticize his daughter. But the question was windy as he did not let him open his mouth before he slashed his sword again, with an even more ominous aura surrounding him. The Duke steps down from his throne and watches Erno create a scene of violence in the hall. He tells his son to stop the fighting inside the mansion. Erno stands over a wounded nobleman and calmly cleans his sword, blaming the Duke for starting the conflict. The Duke is unimpressed and calls him immoral. He complains that Erno brought the girl back to anger him and even claimed her as his daughter. The Duke says Iron is a reptilian beast and unlikely to carry on the Etom bloodline. As he reaches for his pen, Erno throws his sword and knocks it away. He declares that Iron is his baby and he will decide her future. He says he is leaving and demands that the girl be brought to him before he returns. The Duke asks where Erno is going and warns him not to cause trouble. Kylo supports Erno, which surprises the Duke. Erno insists that the maid knew more than she said and that finding her is important. The Duke is unsure if he should support Erno's search. Kylo suggests bringing Terem, but the Duke tells him to manage it independently. Kylo agrees and promises to report back once he finds Iron. After the Duke leaves, Kylo sighs and tells someone to call the hospital, asking everyone to avoid the blood and injured survivors. He thinks about how this house never has a peaceful moment. In a cottage in the forest, an indigo-haired man sits at a table with Iron. He gives her the name Bam Bam and tells her it will be her new name. He asks how she got there, and Iron explains that she woke up during the chaos and found her way to the cottage. She recalls running away from home before and losing consciousness after a nightmare. Richard Collin is a strange and mysterious teenager known as the Crazy Guy. He is famous for his wild behavior, odd experiments, and violent actions. In the future, Richard will also own the Magic Tower. He often thinks about the pain of those who want to die. Richard tells Bam Bam that he saved her, so she should not worry. He explains that being with him means she now belongs to him and must stay by his side. Iron fears she might become like the crazy main heroine in the future. Since arriving here, she has tried to become human again, but no matter what she does, she can't change. Richard sees that she is struggling and wonders if she used to have a tail. He thinks that another lizard must have hurt her. This makes Iron remember Richard's past and how he has also faced bullying because of his knowledge, magical talent, and being raised without parents. Richard gestures for Bam Bam to climb up. He promises to make her strong and tells her that even without a tail, she won't be less than anyone else. He vows to take revenge on those who bullied her. He asks if she agrees. Even though she is unsure, she says yes. He feels pleased and tells her to start training tomorrow. The door suddenly opens, and the principal calls Richard to ask why he skipped practice. Richard, uninterested, says he doesn't care. The principal thinks he has no friends and mentions that pets aren't allowed. Richard angrily shows Bam Bam to the principal, but quickly hides her, saying it was just a hiccup. The principal is suspicious and tells Richard to back off. Still, Richard refuses, saying he doesn't like anyone to do these things. They face off, and tension rises. Once, a kind and honest boy lived with his peaceful family. While working in the fields with his uncle, he heard God's voice telling him to raise his sword and protect the land. Soon after, a war began, and the boy fought bravely with divine guidance. Using his skill and cleverness, he defeated the enemies and led his side to victory. The war left many families heartbroken. Homes were destroyed, and many people suffered. A boy lost his wife and children, which made him very sad. Although he won the war, he disappeared from the village, and no one knew where he would go. It is as if he vanishes completely. Richard stands up to the principal, saying he does not like anyone touching his things, even if it is the principal. Iron feels nervous, hiding behind Richard's chair. But when she hears him call the man principal, she realizes he is the famous hero from the stories. The principal tells Richard he's not asking him to ditch his pet, but to find a better place than the orphanage. Richard is stubborn that he can take care of it and swears he won't get caught. The principal urges him not to be so stubborn. Out of nowhere, Bam Bam jumps off the table and bows down in front of the principal, shocking everyone. The principal is taken aback to see the animal begging to stay and nodding as it understands. Richard is left speechless when he realizes his pet is some kind of magical creature that can understand human talk. The hero realizes the lizard is special and allows Richard to keep her. He advises Richard to train her well and leaves the room, reminding him to rest and practice the next day. After the door closes, Richard crouches in front of Bam Bam in amazement. He asks her how she understands human language. He feels proud that he guessed she was unique and believes their meeting was meant to be. He tells her to stay with him as they have adventures ahead and promises to find her if she ever runs away. Richard gently pets her head and kisses her cheek, surprising her. She reminds herself that Richard Collin is the sub-male lead, the future master of the Magic Tower, and a brilliant magician. He makes her think of her father. The next day, Richard walks into the dining hall in the boys' training house. A group of bullies starts to mock him right away. He tries to stay calm and focuses on eating quickly to buy fruits for Bam Bam after dinner. The bullies taunt Richard, saying he skips practice but still eats in the hall. They mention that the principal favors him by giving him a spacious single room. One bully with black hair goes further, mocking Richard's past as a slave and calling him a pet who lies on the ground. Richard feels his anger rise as the chef pours red gravy on his noodles, the color of which matches his growing rage. He walks to the bully's table and slams his plate in the bully's face, knocking him to the ground and covering him with food. He calls them noisy and stupid pigs. Then, he glares at the bully, demanding he repeat what he just said. When the bully nervously asks what Richard said, Richard raises his hand and starts to summon ice crystals to attack. Before he can strike, the principal reminds him that using magic on others is prohibited. Richard is furious and claims the principal heard the bully too. The hero calmly replies that his magic is deadly and should not be used. Overwhelmed with frustration, Richard screams that it doesn't matter if someone dies. He shakes off the principal's grip and rushes out of the dining hall, saying the principal knows nothing since they want him dead too. The principal calls out to him as he leaves. He tells the injured kid to head to the infirmary. As the sun sets, Iron is waiting in the room for Richard, who said he'd bring her some fruit. But since he hasn't shown up yet, she's getting anxious. Out of nowhere, someone walks into the room and calls out her name. Feeling frightened, she dodges under the bed. It turns out that the principal tells her that Richard has run away and needs her help to find him. He realizes she can understand human language when she crawls out from under the bed. A figure races through the forest, jumping from tree to tree quickly. The cloaked figure is the principal. He turns to ask Bam Bam if she is okay as they look for Richard. He wonders if she can sense his presence nearby, but Iron cannot answer because she is holding onto his shoulder, afraid she might fall. Soon they stop at a treetop. The principal sees a village ahead and thinks Richard is likely there because he visits often. The principal sees Bam Bam looks tired and a bit purple from the journey. He thinks it's because she is small, and she agrees. He kneels and places her on some crates outside the village, telling her to wait while he leaves alone to find Richard. He asks her to look around the edges of the village and mark Richard's scent if she finds him. However, she is annoyed at being treated like a scent tracker, so she picks up Richard's scent on his handkerchief and follows the trail. The principal warns her not to cross the village boundary and leaves. Iron is alone and follows a scent to find Richard. After a long journey, she sees him on the swings at night. She surprises him by climbing onto his back. He is happy to see her and asks how she found him, but she just makes cheerful sounds. Richard apologizes for worrying her. He explains that something upsetting happened today. He was troubled by some bullies, but he dealt with them and taught them a lesson so they wouldn't bother him for a while. He calls this experiment number 1. He is angry with a boy named Ash, who says he was adopted recently and brags about his new parents. He feels disgusted by Ash's boasting but insists he is not jealous. However, he becomes serious when he sees parents loving their children nearby and admits he sometimes wonders why his parents left him. He thinks, if they hated him so much, why did they have him? He says he understands that normal people may fear magic, so his parents might feel the same way. This thought angers him, and he grips the swing tightly, his knuckles turning white. He questions if that justifies leaving him from the start and making him feel like he doesn't belong. Hearing this reminds Iron that Charney and Richard met as children in the original novel. During this time, Richard learned he was the long-lost youngest son of the Collin family. This gives her an idea that Richard might become kinder once he finds his family, instead of feeling resentful like he does now. Charney and Richard deserve a loving home and to live with their families for a better life. She sits on Richard's lap, feeling empathy, and looks at Richard's determination, promising to help him find a family so he shouldn't worry. She thinks that it shouldn't be. His family abandoned him. There's a long story behind it. She asks him to believe in her as she works to find him a loving family. Then, she tries to signal him to go back, as Principal Alvion is looking for him. However, he doesn't understand her and just pets her head. He thanks her for listening to him and says she is better than humans, calling her a kind lizard. At that moment, Bam Bam sneezes, making Richard worry that she might have caught a cold, thinking the cooler night could be the cause. He gets up to head back, but she pulls him in the opposite direction using his scarf. As they walk into the village, Bam Bam looks for signs of the principal. She thinks about how sometimes she feels it would be better not to be born or to disappear right after being born. She thinks that would make her happier now. While she thinks this, they walk onto a bridge under the moonlight. They find the principal talking to a villager about where his students are. Suddenly he turns around as if he senses Richard and rushes to hug him. The force of the hug makes them both fall to the ground. Bam watches, pleased, as her master appears both shy and happy in the warm Ember student's principal, who is relieved to see his pupils safe. Night falls as the moonlight shines through the blinds onto Richard, who sleeps peacefully in bed. Bam Bam sits on the windowsill, deep in thought. The principal watches from the doorway and asks why she is still awake, guessing she might be a nocturnal lizard. Bam Bam thinks to herself that she just cannot sleep. The principal sits by Richard's bed and sighs, thanking Bam Bam for brightening Richard's life since they met. He explains that while Richard seems strong, he is a lonely child, shunned by his peers and society for being the son of a wizard. As a result, Richard shut himself off from the world. The principal tells Bam Bam that Richard's parents probably did not mean to leave him, as wizards usually care a lot about their children. He remembers a package from the Colon family and admits he has been looking for Richard's parents, but has not found them yet. The principal asks Bam Bam to take good care of Richard and hopes she can help fill the emptiness in his heart. Bam Bam looks out the window and seems sad and understanding. The principal stands up and says that dealing with children is hard for him, even though many have become independent. He walks out and shuts the door behind him. Bam Bam stays behind and thinks she would comfort him if she could talk. She climbs onto the bed with difficulty and lies down on the pillow. She looks at Richard's peaceful face and thinks how beautiful he looks while he sleeps. Suddenly, her back starts to itch, and she struggles to reach the spot. She wonders about the strange itch and wishes she could become human by tomorrow, feeling she can't wait any longer. Bam Bam hopes to wake up as a human by tomorrow. That night, the moon shines brightly like usual. The next morning, Richard is exhausted. Even though he apologized, he curses his principal for making him do chores for hours after skipping training. When he reaches the top of the stairs, he hits his stick against the door and tells the principal that when he's older, he will run away from the orphanage and never return. Richard takes a deep breath to calm down. Then he happily enters his room to tell Bam Bam he's back and will bring her fruit. But when he looks inside, he is surprised to see a pink-haired girl standing there instead. Richard is shocked and demands to know who the girl is and why she is in his room. She asks him to listen. He wants to teach her a lesson for being in the wrong room. When he sees the girl holding Bam Bam's skin, he panics. He thinks she has hurt Bam Bam. He gets ready to attack with ice magic. He remembers his professor's warning that his magic could kill someone, so he hesitates and cancels the attack. He angrily tells her to give him Bam Bam and leave his room. The principal hears a loud noise and goes upstairs. He finds Richard threatening a girl and telling her to leave if she doesn't want to get hurt. The principal asks Richard what is happening. Richard tells the principal that a stranger is in his room, saying she is Bam Bam. The principal looks closely and sees her tail. He then asks if she is a lizard girl. The trio gathers in the lounge by the fireplace. The principal learns that Irene is a 5-year-old lizard girl with no guardian. Irene nods to confirm this information. Richard listens in disbelief. He wonders if Irene could be his Bam Bam. He learns that some animal people are a mix of animals and humans. Lizard people, in particular, usually live in hot tropical regions. Richard is surprised, as he has never met one before. He explains that tropical regions have hot weather all year round. Irene worries that she has failed because she made a wish last night without knowing the consequences. She thinks things could have been worse if it had happened any later. Her thoughts are interrupted when the principal asks if she lost her parents. She hesitates to answer, so he reassures her she doesn't have to say anything uncomfortable. The principal feels stressed because he does not understand how animal people can live and grow only with guardians. He sighed and asked if she wanted to stay at the orphanage with Richard for now. The bigger problem is hiding her tail. Irene apologizes and says she tried to hide it in her skirt, but it's too big. He quickly tells her not to apologize and says he will check on the animal people while in the capital. She realizes this is where the Collin family's mansion is. She thinks she might find Richard's parents there. Her thoughts make her look at him, which makes him nervous, wondering if something is on his face. A wooden trinket box is in front of the kids, and Richard is excited to show it off because he has been saving it for years. Iron is impressed by what is inside and can't believe Richard's collection. He tells them he has collected many items from the backyard over the years, including acorns, seashells, and red maple leaves. His coolest find is a long red centipede. Iron screams and covers her eyes. She feels freaked out by the centipede. Richard is excited about it. He calls the centipede incredible and cool-shaped. They are hanging out in a forest close to the nursery school they have been at since Iron changed back to her human form 3 days ago. Richard took her deep into the forest. He said it was his secret spot. It turned out to be a trinket box with a dead centipede inside. He didn't realize she was grossed out. He pulled out a sapphire-like gem shard he found the day before. When Iron saw it glimmering in his hands, she recognized it instantly. It was a piece of the ancient dragon relics from Erno Atom's earring. She was excited to finally find the object, which showed on her face. Richard noticed her happiness and asked if Bam Bam would like it. Iron raised an eyebrow, questioning why he still called her Bam Bam when he found out her name was Iron. Richard shrugged. He said that since he saved her life, he could call her whatever he wanted. He caught her staring intently at the gem and wondered out loud if he should just give it to her. Iron is super excited about the idea, but Richard jokingly asks what he would get in return for such an awesome gift. She thinks about the capital. His family offers to take him there as a trade. Richard declines the offer. He says the capital is way too packed with people and buildings. She tries to convince him that the capital has tons of candy and fruits, and even a surprise he would not see coming. He is curious. He asks what the surprise is. She keeps it a secret. She says he is going to love it. He wonders if she really means it. When she nods eagerly, he decides to trust her and agrees to do it just to see her smile. Richard says that if he doesn't have the gift or cannot go to the capital, she must promise to stay by his side forever. He says this close to her face. Since they're alone, they must be like family and make a pinky swear. The next morning, Richard plans to leave for the capital in a carriage. Before he goes, he introduces the new teacher who will fill in for him. Iron comes up with a plan. She suggests that they hide Uncoachman Schmin's Chahisin. Still, he's not looking, so they can sneak into the capital without the principal finding out. Richard thinks this is reckless and asks what they should do if caught. They will be fine if they hide well and wait a little while. Richard clears up Iron's misunderstanding by explaining that reaching the capital takes a full week. This makes Iron rethink her plan because she wants to take Richard to the Duke of Colin and return the earring fragment to Erno Itam while withdrawing some money. Feeling stressed about everything, Richard notices her worry and suggests they proceed with her plan. Iron agrees and is happy to keep her pro the Reichard, which reminds her that they are family Hilland and that he will go with her no matter what coachman's it's to do. They sit in the small coachman's seat for the ride and realize there is a mother's room. They have to sit between each other's legs. Iron wanted it to be more comfortable and thought there would be enough space for both of them. Iron's thoughts are interrupted when Richard starts stammering, trying to say something to her. His face turns red, making Iron think he might be uncomfortable. However, he seems embarrassed by her closeness and decides to remain silent. At that moment, people outside the carriage announce their departure. When the wheels hit a stone, Iron and Richard bounce against the carriage, catching the coachman's attention. He asks the principal if he has something heavy in his luggage, but the principal denies it. Iron and the coachman feel something unusual as the carriage moves. Iron realizes her plan has completely failed.